All right. Are you awake? It's time to wake up with Wesley. I'm Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams, joining you on the second day of spring, or is it the 111th day of winter? Kind of hard to tell with the type of weather pattern that we are seeing across the area. Let's take a look at exactly what's going on here, because we're going to talk about how the weekend is going to warm up. And we'll take a look and see how likely it is for us to get a return to some cold 30s. Spoiler alert, you might not see them for a while. Okay, so let's take a look at the weather pattern here as we go to your Friday. It is still tapping into this cool snap. We are on the eastern side of a high pressure system. So here we are on the Mississippi coast. There's that high pressure to our left or to our west. So that's the reason why we are seeing these winds from the north that are pulling in cooler conditions for us. For some places like Gulfport, this is the coldest morning they have seen in at least a week, maybe more. This morning's low temperature hit 37 at the Gulfport airport at just before 6 a.m. And as you can see, there's no morning in the past week that came even close to that type of cold. Now, earlier this morning, we had some frost in the area. I don't think we're seeing as much of that now at 8:30. So here's a look at the temperature map. These are actual reported temperatures across weather stations here in South Mississippi. As of the current moment in time, 8:34, you've got 30s in many places and a few 40s. So probably not as frosty as it was earlier this morning, but there could be some isolated spots in this purple color near Picayune, near Diamond Head, maybe near Wiggins, near Van Cleve Hurley. Some places there that might still be holding on to just a little touch of frost this morning. Now, here's the thing. We are taking a look at the weekend, and I got to tell you, it's looking warmer because we are going to see wind from the south, from the Gulf, and so this is going to help our temperatures to improve. So if you're not really a fan of this kind of cool weather, got great news for you. The spring vibes are going to be in full effect over the weekend. We're talking 70s on Saturday as well as Sunday, and as you can see, no real cool down in the foreseeable future. This is the 7-day temperature outlook, but we can take a look at the 10-day temperature outlook, well, the whole 10-day forecast, and you'll notice that there's really no more 30s anywhere on that piece of information, the screen there. So you've got some mornings that are going to cool down a little bit. As we take a closer look at this, you can see going from today 65, tonight 48, and we warm up over the weekend. We do get another cool down, but the cool down does not happen until Monday night, and it doesn't bring us 40s. It looks like just 50s. And then maybe we'll see just kind of mild leveling out as we go to the rest of the month. This is basically the rest of the entire month of March, and you aren't finding any type of cool downs there. So now we'll talk about, is it likely for us to not return to the 30s until November? I know that sounds kind of weird to say because November sounds like it's so far away. You know, here we are in March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. It's 8 months. Are we about to really take an 8-month break from the 30s? And the answer to that question is probably. You can't guarantee everything, but I would say probably in places like Gulfport, Biloxi, it's not coming back. This is a look at what happened last year. You're looking at the coldest reported temperature of each month from 2024, last year. And you'll notice, obviously, the one that sticks out to you, the 20 degrees we had last January of 2024. That was the coldest temperature of the entire year of 2024. But you'll notice we had some cold 30s in last February, and we had some cold 30s in last March. And then no more 30s. None in April, May, June, July, August, September, October. We didn't go back to the 30s until November. And I know that's just 1 year of data, but if I pull up the one for the year 2023, you're going to find a similar trend, which shows a long break from the 30s beginning pretty much around this time of year, around March, if not April. So let's pull up the one from 2023. And that year, we actually The coldest temperature was surprisingly in March, which was pretty weird. Usually it's in January or February. So we had a 31 for the coldest temperature of the entire year in March, and there were no more 30s once we got to April. They did not come back until November. Hey, that's 2 in a row. Okay, we'll do one more. What about the year 2022? Let's pull that one up. And so in the year 2022, our coldest temperature of the entire year didn't actually happen until December. We hit 23. And let's see. So we had 20s in January, 20s in February, 30s in March, and no more 30s. They were gone from April all the way to October. And that's a barely, right? 39 is barely the 30s. So that's 3 years in a row. 2024, 2023, 2022, all which showed us taking an 8-month break or so from those temperatures in the 30s for the Gulfport Biloxi area. So I'm pretty confident that why not make it 4 years in a row? We're probably going to see that happen again here, in which if there's no more 30s coming this month, which we just showed you the 10-day forecast, you didn't see any, then that means this morning was probably it. And we're going to take that break now. So many of you might be cheering, hip, hip, hooray. You're not a fan of cold weather. It might be one of the reasons why you live down here on the Gulf Coast, to escape the cold. However, there are others that, if you're a long-term resident, you know how long these summers go. You know that even if you don't like cold weather, come July or August, you might be begging for those 30s. So it is interesting to see them go away and not return for so long, but that is looking like very likely what we are dealing with here, with the end of March being the end of these 30s. Now, talking more about freezing temperatures, which is not 39 but 32, for Gulfport Biloxi, we actually see most of our freezing temperatures come to an end in March. There's actually never been a freeze recorded in April. We've never hit 32 once we've come out of March. So this is really good news if you are planting or trying to, begin your growing season early. This means after this morning, you're probably good to go. I know, there's always one last freeze before Easter. But for Gulfport Biloxi specifically, I don't think that's in the cards for 2025. Now, there might be other places in our 6 southernmost counties, Stone County, George County, Pearl River County, maybe parts of Jackson County. Maybe you come close to 32 between now and Easter, briefly. But for Gulfport Biloxi, you're probably good to go with planting, and the growing season is going to go strong there. This is a look at the absolute latest freezing temperature before summer, and like I said, there's none ever recorded past March 31st for Gulfport Biloxi. Now the rest of the area, sometimes you can get freezes in April. It doesn't happen often, but the records show that the absolute latest on record at some of those other places on the map does go into April. So can South Mississippi get freezes in April? Sure. Would it actually hit the Gulfport Biloxi area? Probably not. It would probably be somewhere else, probably more inland. As a result. So now we'll take a look at the weekend forecast, which, like I said, is looking pretty good. We've got a future cast, which might I know this is Wake Up with Wesley, but this future cast might put you to sleep because there's not much happening weather-wise here locally because of the dry high pressure. So you can actually always tell where the high pressure system is centered because it is where the center of circulation is, the center of clockwise wind circulation is. Can you tell where the high pressure system is located on this map? Yeah, it's in Alabama, or on the Mississippi-Alabama line, because as you can see, we've got this clockwise wind circulation that's located right about here. So you got the winds coming out of the southeast, going this way. You've got the winds coming out of the north, coming down this way. And so this is the center of that high pressure system by later today. It's going to be moving east of us. And this is an important change because you see, while the high pressure system is west of us, we get that cool north wind. But once it goes east of us, we're actually going to start to pick up that warm Gulf wind. And that is what begins basically later this evening and tonight. And this continues into the weekend. So take a look at, of course, a dry Friday, and take a look at another day dry tomorrow for Saturday. But you are starting to see those Gulf winds coming in from the south. And this will actually make the humidity come up. Not to where it's going to feel muggy, but it just won't feel absolutely bone dry. It's going to be dew points in the 50s. And then you take a look at Sunday, another day that features winds from the Gulf. And I think at this point, you might actually begin to notice just a touch of stickiness in the air because there is enough moisture from the Gulf. Will it be enough to bring us some rain showers? Well, this is a look at the futurecast, and sure, there's some clouds, but most of the rain looks like it's going to be mainly west of us. So we're keeping the chance at about 10%. Now, Sunday night, that is when I do think we're going to see some of these showers. Look at where they are by sunset Sunday. They're up in Jackson, they're up in Vicksburg, but not on the Mississippi coast. Look at where they are by midnight Sunday night. They're still near Jackson, but they are starting to dive southward, closer to Natchez, closer to Macomb. And then at some point after midnight Sunday night, which is also known as Monday, that is when I do think we are going to see that better rain chance. So that's why your 7-day forecast shows those rain chances increasing by Monday. You got a 60% for Sunday night after midnight and a 60% for Monday. So a lot of this might be moving in at some point between midnight Sunday night and sunrise Monday. And we'll deal with some wet weather with a chance for storms on Monday before things kind of quiet down later on into Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. So now you're better informed on the forecast as you have tuned in this morning. And just a reminder again that this weekend looks really nice. I encourage you to make plans to enjoy spending time outside for Saturday with those highs in the 70s and not breezy. Saturday's the best day, I think. Sunday, it is another day with highs in the 70s, but it will become breezier. So you want to keep an eye on that. Might not be as comfortable if you're not a fan of breezy winds. Well, thank you for waking up with Wesley. I've been Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams. Take care and have a great weekend. See you next time.